Present day. Present time.
Yeah, I was, but that's because like everything starts out like low to me. Like everything starts out at like a five or like something start out at a one. Like I watched like Sword Art. Sword Art started out at like a two or something, and like I'm like, okay, Lane, you're getting kind of fucking weird. And if Ergo Proxy from Genion is of any indication, you're not, because like that's the thing with fuck. I keep going back to Ergo Proxy, but Ergo Proxy sets up a bunch of shit, and I shit you not, it does not explain half those things. And it's not like where you can take it to interpretation. Like the people will know what I'm talking about. The Cogito virus in Ergo Proxy is never fucking explained. Like there are theories, but it's not. It's like you said before. Theories have to have something to back them up. There's nothing that backs up this theory. It's just an incredible theory. But that was happening to me with Lane, where I'm like, okay, this is going the Ergo Proxy route. It's setting up a bunch of things like the fucking aliens, and if it doesn't explain it, I'm gonna give this shit some rest in piss or something. But no, I ended up loving Lane. So I like the use of symbolism with the aliens, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like they mean the first interpretation for the aliens that came to mind for me was, oh, they're symbolizing Lane's alienation with either her best friend or civilization or something like that.
Hmm.
But, either they're a distraction or like either they're meant to be something deeper than that, or they're just a distraction that are fooling me into thinking that there's something deeper when there really isn't.
Hmm.
Pretentiousness. But yeah. I could sum all that up by saying that I should really rewatch Lane sometime.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get the Blu-ray and watch it because Lane's kind of it's kind of like Evangelion, and I need to rewatch that too. And by the way,
Should you get the Evangelion on Blu-ray?
there is no even. Oh God, man! Every fucking time I remember that there's like no way to buy Evangelion in America because like the Platinum Collection is like $200 fucking, and I think you can get like released DVDs or something, but it's like 8 volumes or something like that. But fuck it, Lane is on Blu-ray, so thank you Funimation for picking that back up.
we're, we're going off topic, but that's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
I don't get. Even that's
Hmm.
something I just don't get. Evangelion was huge.
It's the second selling best anime of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That other thing is like that other thing is really only known in Japan because
Yeah.
no one knows what the fuck
It's a
that is.
kids show, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it is, and if you go to Mal, no one knows what it is. So I pretty much just ignore that. I'm just gonna say that Evangelion is arguably like the biggest thing anime has ever produced.
Hmm.
Except I don't know, you could say maybe DBZ is that, but fuck DBZ.
Fuck Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, yeah, I don't really get why that doesn't have a Blu-ray, but we're going off
Yeah.
topic. This is about Lane, so
Wait a minute, wait a minute. What if this is all like what if this is all linked to Lane? The reason Evangelion doesn't have a Blu-ray is because
because
some
Lane is better. Yes.
By the way, what do you fuck, we're going off topic again, but what would you say is better, Evangelion or Lane? And I think I already know your answer. I'm positive I already know your answer, but go.
What do you think my answer is?
Dragon Ball Z.
No, 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 no. Seriously, what do you think my answer is?
It's Evangelion, right?
Of course not.
Oh, come on.
It's not like I gave the finale a 10.
Oh, it's not like you gave it's not like we gave End of Evangelion a perfect score or anything. Nothing
No,
silly
seriously.
like that.
Um, Yeah, yeah, I do think Evangelion is overall better. There is one problem that Evangelion has that Lane does not have, and that is that as Evangelion was going, it was finding an I don't really know how to put this, but as Evangelion was going, it it was in the process of finding what it was trying to do
Hmm.
as it went on.
I agree.
Well, not really, but to some extent. Because, I mean, okay, if you've seen the show, there are clearly a lot of things that were planned out, even towards the end.
Hmm.
But yeah, whereas Lane is not as much like that. But yeah, I mean, putting that little stuff aside, overall, I do like Ava better.
That's one of the things I like about Lane, where you watch the intro and you know what like. You know it's. I don't know if this is only applies to like if you've seen the entire series. Like Lane stays consistent throughout the entire series. It never like you never feel like it's going. Well, maybe with the aliens, it's like that you see the aliens and you're like wondering, oh my God, is Lane an alien?
I'm pretty sure there's actually some imagery where, like,
Yeah, there
I could
is, there
be
is.
wrong, like Alice or whatever sees an alien or something, right?
Yeah, it has Lane like
She sees
Lane's
Lane as
head.
an alien or
Yeah.
something.
Hmm. No, I know what. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That
Yeah.
fucked me up. I'm like, what the? It was like late at night, and I'm watching this. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? This is like creeping me out. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But but that's the thing. Lane's really consistent. Lane's is incredibly consistent anime. And okay, here's a complaint I have with. Well, I guess I can't call it a complaint because it makes sense in the plot, but Lane only has one character. Like, let's be honest, Lane. There's only one character in this entire anime.
Lane herself.
Yeah, yeah. That's like literally the only character that. I mean, of course, there's Arisu and there's the Men in Black, but the focal character and basically the only character with any semblance of development is Lane. How did you feel about that?
I mean, if that was the point, then fine, I'll take it.
Hmm. Okay. Here's the other thing I wanted to ask you. Would you agree that Lane is like incredibly ahead of its time?
Um, yeah, I'd say so. Considering the ideas it brought up in like the 90s,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely out of time. I mean, the internet wasn't even that big a decade ago.
Yeah,
Or,
it
well,
wasn't.
maybe not big, a little more than that, but yeah, okay, 1998, yeah, the internet wasn't nearly as big as it is now. A lot of these ideas apply to today.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, that's what I said, like I mentioned earlier, that it deals with a lot of problems. Well, not problems, but I don't know what to say. Implications that the internet brought about in the present, and also possible issues that could come up in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Like, going back to the aliens, I agree with the theory that the aliens are a red herring and they're symbolizing
Yeah,
misinformation all over the internet. Where you can go on Wikipedia and you can read that CM Punk has exploded into a million pieces, and that's bullshit. The aliens are the bullshit on Wikipedia. They're the misinformation, and I seriously wonder how bad this was in 1998 or like even before this because this anime must have been planned out at least I'm gonna say a year in advance maybe, and I really doubt that was a big a problem as it is right now. And I think the the MJ12 document that was bullshit. That entire stuff with Truman and fucking Vandiver that was a horse shit. And I'm like, oh man, what the fuck? Because like no, and here's the thing, I'm a sucker because I was paying attention to this. Like when I would miss a line, I would go back, and
yeah, me too.
it's such a pain in the ass to go back on my phone and watch a line with Kiss Anime because it's like it fucking stutters for like 10 seconds, and I'm like, oh god, just load. So I would go back, and I'm like. Oh, the MJ12 document. I'm sure this will be important. Yeah, fucking horseshit. It'll be important. It's not. It means nothing. Truman lied to us. Like it's all bullshit. And I give credit to the people who made it for that because they're like they must have been thinking, okay, this is going this and this these are all going to become problems in the future, and we better address them now. Or if we address them now, yeah, and all that. But I think here's a thought, and I don't like to call anime this or like I don't like to call anime deep and all that, but Lane is a very smart anime. It's
No, I'm just kidding.
no,
I'm just kidding. Go on.
no. Lane's a smart anime. I think Lane it knows what it does right. It knows where to stay. Smart anime. Like you got smart marks. So we got to come up with like smart anime. Let's just it's hard anime. People can't see this chat. I'm gonna have to like post pictures of this chat on here because it's fucking hilarious. But where do you think Lane drew its inspiration from?
Uh, well, well, I have a hard time believing that. It probably drew its inspiration from a lot of things that we're not aware of,
Hmm.
because given the nature of the how it presents the themes, I feel like it's not necessarily trying to get across anything new. Of course, I'm probably just being blinded by the fact that I'm living in 2014. But from the stuff that I know of, I'd probably say Ghost in the Shell and Evangelion.
That's what I was thinking, right? That it drew its oh, sorry. It drew its inspiration from like Ghost in the Shell, and I initially thought it was a combination of Ghost in the Shell and Evangelion, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, Ghost in the Shell is inspired by a novel, and it's called Neuromancer. It came out in, I want to say 1984,
Okay.
and that novel basically changed the landscape of science fiction in regards to how computer hacking is dealt with and everything, because the protagonist is a washed up computer hacker. And that anime, or not that anime, that book, I think directly inspired Ghost in the Shell, which became its own thing, and I think Lane draws inspiration from the both of them. And but didn't you once tell me that Evangelion was like not out or or something by the time this came out? Or no, it was out
Huh?
late. I mean, Evangelion came out in '95. What the fuck am I thinking?
Yeah, Ava came out in '95. One of the criticisms was that about Lane is that people complained that it was trying to do what Evangelion did, and then the creator denied it and said that he hadn't seen Evangelion until he was writing the script for episode 4.
That makes sense. Um, whether I believe him or not is irrelevant, but I do think there are things here and there that, like, I'm trying to think of specific things. Like Lane covered in all those wires, that always reminded me of Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
let's just say Motoko was like covered in wires from her back because they feed her body. I always thought Lane tried to either pay homage or got it from Ghost in the Shell. That may be something from Neuromancer. I'm not even sure, but I do think Lane, because Lane's its own original thing. It just draws inspiration here and there from other material, just like anything else does. Um, I think that's all the questions I had. Huh. I want to ask you this: how fucking freaked out were you when Lane appeared in the sky? That fucking that was like what the fuck,
I
like,
think that was probably like the first real the hell is this anime trying to do moments I
yeah.
had.
I agree.
Yeah, that was just weird.
Isn't that the episode where Lane's sister also has like that mental breakdown in the
Yeah, her sister. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I remember they were like on this. Because I remember
they were on the street,
the
right?
whole. Yeah, yeah, they were on the street. The whole ordeal with the sister started when we saw her on the street. So yeah,
That was fucked. Like that, I think that was the first episode where I'm like, okay, here is where the psychological stuff starts to come into play, because I think Evangelion takes
you were like over halfway into the series by the time Evangelion really kicks in.
yeah, like episode 16, like
Yes, yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's like little
yeah.
tidbits here and there before, but that's when it really dives in.
And Lane, well, I don't think Lane had the luxury of waiting that long, because
Yeah.
I think it would have just been weird to have like half the series be typical schoolgirl drama and then the rest of the series be like deep computerization and all that. But I think it works. Like I think mostly everything in Lane works. I don't think that, like the aliens are symbolism, so I can kind of wave that off. But I think Lane's consistent and everything just functions.
Not flawless. I'll
Not
say that.
not not flawless. I don't think it's
Not flawless.
flawless. I
Nothing's flawless.
except end of Evangelion. which we gave a 10. Fuck, man. I can already read the comments saying, Evangelion fucking sucks, DX
I
fan.
mean, you could probably, I mean, I guess you could sort of come up with a few problems with the end of Evangelion, but honestly, everything I've tried to come up with, I can overlook.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I,
Which
I,
honestly, I don't even remember.
I,
Like, I remember thinking about end of Evangelion a couple of times here and there. We're going off topic again, but I remember thinking about it a couple of times here and there. I'm thinking maybe that could be a problem, but now I don't really remember what I came up with.
no, that's a valid point because I tried to find flaws in things that I've given high scores to, and one of them was Ghost in the Shell, and I'm like, okay, this only develops one character, maybe two if you count the Puppet Master,
Hmm.
and I'm like, there's something keeping me from giving this a perfect score, and I think it's that. I think it's the fact that because if you've read the manga, you would know that the other characters are important, and this like the movie shaves off like half the cast, and the other characters aren't nearly as important, and I can either overlook that and see Ghost in the Shell for what it is and what it's trying to, or what Oshi tried to do with it in terms of more philosophical, somewhat psychological in terms of computerization. But then, can I hold that same flaw to Lane because Lane only has one character too? I don't know. I'm kind of split on that. Would you say that that's a comparative flaw?
Uh, I don't really know. Like you said, it does depend on sort of what the story was trying to get across.
Hmm. Um, damn. I don't know if I can like I can't overlook it in Ghost in the Shell, but I
I don't know. See, Ghost in the Shell, I do think it has a few other problems to me, at least. For one thing, I understand that the point of the film. Again, we're dealing with the point of the film.
mhm,
Like I know it's like a philosophical film, right?
mhm.
But it does like in being, it tries. I thought you can argue that it tries so hard to get its message across, or at least a message that you can take like several interpretations out of across. Anyways, it tries so hard to get that across that in doing so, it sacrifices characterization and connecting with the characters.
I agree.
Because I mean, you can't. You can honestly you can get it to where you can emphasize or sympathize or whatever word you want to use with any character, but I can't say that I empathize with Motoko in any way, even though we do sort of have a little bit of insight into like her little internal struggle with like being a cyborg or whatever. I can't exactly feel anything for her.
No, I understand, and that's
And
that's that's exactly why you have to watch Standalone Complex.
yeah, can definitely feel a lot of things in that show.
No, but I definitely agree with you. That's one of the like I never there was no empathy. Fuck, my words are. I've been taken over by the Knights. Shit. No, but I agree with you. I
Yeah,
don't. I think that's a problem with Ghost in the Shell,
yeah.
and I don't think
See
it's.
something.
Mhm.
Sorry, go on. Keep going.
No, I was gonna say I think it's more of a problem in Ghost in the Shell with the way you look at Motoko and the way the film centers around her. I think it's more of a problem with Ghost in the Shell than Lane because Lane doesn't. There's one character in Lane, and you know that from the get-go. The series is named after Lane. Lane is the only character that had like the other characters. I think have like at like tops like 40 lines of dialogue in the entire 13 episodes.
They kind of just show up if Lane happens to like, let's say, I don't want to call them plot devices, but they're kind of like plot devices for whenever Lane needs like sort of
Hmm.
development, I guess you could say,
Yeah, I
to
agree.
some extent.
But
Maybe not Arisu, but the rest of them
yeah,
plot devices or symbols.
I think that's more blatant in Ghost in the Shell. Like when characters like Bato and Togusa, those characters, like most of Bato's lines, are just to stress that this is a philosophical film and oh, you should be concerned because we're cyborgs and we have no real bodies and we have ghosts and everything. Most of Bato's lines are just explaining that concept and they don't have any substance to them in terms of Bato's characterization.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Where Lane doesn't really like Lane doesn't try to characterize any of the other characters. Like not maybe like Arasu, you could kind of argue, but Arasu is she's like an like here's the thing with Arasu. She's like an outsider to the entire anime because she has no fucking clue what's going on. She's
She's
big.
us.
I think, yeah, she's us. That's exactly what I was gonna say. She's a representation of the audience watching the anime because she has no idea what's going on around her, and everything around her is so important, but she can't piece shit together. And I think that's better than having a character who just shows up to say something, and we're supposed to treat him as an actual character.
Not to mention that Arisu's relationship. I mean, sometimes it's kind of hard to pin it on Ghost in the Shell because that's like it's a movie, not a TV series. It's a
Yeah,
lot
true,
shorter.
true, true.
But like I was saying with Arisu, you also have like the relationship between her and Lane is like really cemented together. Whereas with like Motoko and Bato, you don't really have that. You just know that they're teammates.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, as much as I like say this about Ghost in the Shell, I remember that the movie's like 83 minutes long, and I'm like, can I
Yeah,
really hold it against the movie because it's so fucking short?
that's why I hate judging movies.
Yeah, I don't like judging, especially movies like because if you've ever read the Ghost in the Shell manga and then you watch the movie, it's like it's like watching the 60s Batman and then watching The Dark Knight. It's the difference is night and day between the comics because the comics are totally comedic. Everything is played up like almost everything is played up for humor, and then it's such a stark difference from the film. And I'm like, their ambition didn't get the best of them. I think they everything they tried they almost succeeded in, and the film is 83 minutes long. So can I really judge this because this is like because here's the thing I see about Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is a product like the best possible product somebody could have put out in that time frame, but the time frame they sacrificed that for the quality of the film. I think if it would have gone a little longer, I probably would have given it a higher score. And
Only one score above 9.
there's only one score above 9, and I'd love to give Ghost in the Shell a 10 out of 10, but I just can't do it. And that's one of the things I think Lane does well. It
That's a
manages it.
10. I agree.
it's a it no it has it's aware of how much time it's taking up. It has incredible
Yeah,
time management.
yeah, I agree.
Um,
Also, something I wanted to mention was since we were talking about like how Ghost in the Shell sacrifices one thing to get another thing across.
mhm.
Um, damn, this isn't even a lane discussion anymore. But anyways, it sacrifices, to put simply, it sacrifices characterization for the sake of the message, right?
Mhm.
Um, if I don't delve too much into the really detailed stuff of the end of Evangelion, it has the characters to support the movie,
Mhm.
and it manages to get a meaningful message across at the same time, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much.
Mhm.
It does pretty much everything it set out to do, and it did it in a really good way. And everything it set out to do are the things that I generally look for in fiction.
I agree. And here's the thing with like all of these anime. Let's okay, Lane. Let's all compare like roller coasters. Okay, Evangelion is a gigantic roller coaster that has
And it breaks down halfway through the end.
it gets like there's a lot of swerves and shit in the tracks, but there's a build up where you're going to the top of the roller coaster. You're at the top of the roller coaster, and then there's a fucking drastic like just a slant down, and it takes you on the ride. Ghost in the Shell is a roller coaster that starts out at the top because there's no build up. Because since the manga is so different from the novels, they're they're different characters. They're the same person, but they're different characters. So Ghost in the Shell is just something that takes you along for the ride. There's no build up because Evangelion you had the 26 episode anime, and Lane would be in the middle of those two where it has build up and everything, and then like by the halfway point, I was fully immersed in Lane, and I'm like, okay, just give me a good story, and I'll just go along for the ride. And
And
I
then
don't,
the story came.
yeah, yeah. Final question: what did you think about like taking into account everything that happened, taking into account that Tachibana General Labs created Lane, Erie created Lane of the Wired, taking into account that the Knights work for Erie, Eri, I think 80 is the correct way to pronounce his name. Taking into account that the Siberia Club was basically a test lab, taking into account Protocol 7, like, what did you think of the overall plot of Serial Experiments Lain?
Mm, okay, sorry. Let me think for just a moment. Okay, I mean, I think it's a good sort of like, I mean, the story it's about just Lane, right? It's essentially the story is essentially about Lane eh, struggling with her identity and her friends, right? So I think it did well in that part. I mean, I could sympathize with Lane,
Yeah, I
and
agree. I agree.
and I mean, like the theme of the show should really be like the last thing you're worried about, even if it's arguably like one of the most important things, or maybe the most important thing for certain people. But like throughout most of the show, I wasn't really concerned with that. I was just concerned with what would happen next, what would happen to Lane, what would happen in this world. So yeah, I'd say it definitely had a good plot. Whereas compared to something like Ghost in the Shell, I was more focused on what it was trying to tell me as opposed to what was
Hmm.
happening.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the plot. I thought like from a from technical aspects, there's no plot holes. There's like Evangelion has so many plot. I mean, I'm sorry, Ano. I didn't just say that. Um,
Evangelion arguably has a few.
a few, maybe.
There's okay, there's actually one that sorry to cut you off in like the middle, but
Mhm.
actually I'll just tuck it in my brain. You just keep going.
No, I think I know the plot hole you're talking about. I think it's. Is it? Are we talking about the stuff with Kaworu and?
No.
We're not talking about that. Oh shit, there's something else.
I was going to bring that up later, but you keep going with what you're saying with Lane. I'll bring it up. It's like a minor lapse in logic, nothing huge like Kaoru or anything. But go on.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say that I like the lane. I like the plot of Lane. Like,
I like the Lane too.
there's lolies in the sky, please. No, but I think Lane has a strong plot where like if this was told, I think if this was told in a linear fashion, I would still like this plot. I wouldn't like. Okay, Bakano. When Bakano started going into linear storytelling, like there's a slight decrease in the quality of the series. I don't think that would happen with Lane. I think the story would still be as good if it was told in a non-lin or in a linear fashion.
Hmm. I think um I think overall, if you take everything into consideration, the experience wouldn't quite be the same.
Yeah, I agree. I
As
agree.
exciting, I guess you could say. It would still be good, but like it certainly wouldn't be bad. But it's not like it relies on the storytelling to be any good.
Do you think that's the case with Bakano?
Uh, I think Bakano would still be good without the nonlinear storytelling, but it's without the nonlinear storytelling, it's honestly so much simpler.
Yeah,
But
I
I
agree.
still think Bakano is good. I like the specials not as much, and I do think the specials, by the way, had even not taking into consideration the nonlinear stuff, I do think they were still inferior to the original 13 episode anime.
I agree. I agree.
But I still like those, so I would still like Bakano if it wasn't nonlinear.
Yeah, I agree. So the real question is, and we'll end it here. When is Lane gonna get the Lane specials where we see where we see Lane playing chess with God in the sky and we see 80 in hell? That's gonna be something. I think. Oh, wait a
And
minute.
then Lelouch breaks in and challenges Lane to a chess fight.
No, but he's wiped his memory, so Lelouch is going to lose, and fucking Suzaku is gonna do his spin kick and release Nunnally from the Like, can you like? This is real stuff that actually went on in fucking Code Geass. I'm not even making any of this up. Fucking Code Geass, man.
Speaking of that one little issue in Code Geass, Lelouch, he forgot his plan or whatever, but he remembered that he kept Suzaku down there. The hell did he think Suzaku was doing?
Exactly. I mean,
Okay.
Fuck me.
Anyways, real quick before we go to the plot hole I was talking about Evangelion, it's honestly it's nothing huge. It's a minor thing.
Hmm.
Um, episode 3, I think, when they fought the second angel, third angel actually, because fourth angel actually, because Adam Lilith.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Anyways,
Hmm.
the second angel we see in the show. Um,
Yeah.
how do Kensuke and Toji get into the Eva?
I knew you were gonna bring that up without the ladder.
Yeah, they show that in 1.0. They show a little thing that comes extending out in 1.0, but they don't show that in Neon Genesis.
Maybe it happened off screen.
Yeah, that's obviously, but I mean,
Yeah, I know. There's like
yeah, but
that's I think um
yeah, that's why I said arguably a few plot holes, but I don't consider it one.
okay, here's a possibility. Lane appeared from the sky and put them in the Ava.
Okay, and then there's the stuff with Kaoru. Honestly, I think that would just take too long to talk about, so let's just
Yeah,
ignore that for now.
yeah. All right, people, you just heard us talk for like over an hour about a little girl and her computer. So join me, cause Kyo's going to jail. Okay, he broke into the Skype studio for the fourth fucking time. It's too much. But join me tomorrow. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna play tomorrow. I may play Pokemon. I may play. I'm not even gonna say what that other game I'm gonna play. Fuck that game. But thank you for watching, and if you did stick till the end, you can give yourself a gold medal star, gold X award. Peace out. Goodbye.